this morning to what's hopefully going to be a meeting talking about organising, talking about campaigning, talking about the importance the Morning Star has had within the trade union movement, and certainly within my own union, the Fabricators Union. Our former General Secretary, who recently passed away, Ken Cameron, was instrumental in educating our members on the importance of supporting the Morning Star, because that paper was a paper that highlighted our struggles and our campaigns as well. So I'd like to take note to pay tribute to Ken for that and for his work that's did within the movement. Just briefly, I just want to touch on a couple of things initially, and it's to do with the importance the Morning Star has. I suppose within my union, I've recently seen losses in the fire service of over 1,000 jobs since the single service came into Scotland in 2013. The biggest impact that has, believe it or not, has been on women. There's 95% white straight males in the fire service, and 1 in 5% women firefighters in the fire service, but the biggest impact has been on women that work in our control rooms. We've recently seen the 8 control rooms in Scotland going down to 3 control rooms. The workers at work within the office, within the cleaning, within the catering, within the cooking departments, the clerical staff, the majority has been women as well. So when we're talking about the cuts and the importance of fighting those cuts, it really is important to highlight, I think, the impact it has, especially even in male-dominated jobs, it has on women. We've got some great speakers this morning. I want to introduce our first speaker, which is to my left, Jackson Cullinane. Jackson is a very good friend in the Morning Star paper. Is a political officer for Unite the Union, and Unite the Union, which is a member of the management committee which runs the paper. So, welcome, Jackson.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, can I first of all just refer people to the email which John sent out to, I don't think it sent it to everybody here, but it sent it to some people here, reminding them about today's meeting and the importance of it, urging that we do everything to secure people to attend. And it reads, the mass media's treatment of Jeremy Corbyn once more demonstrates the importance of a daily paper that is loyal to the principles of the Labour movement. And he's absolutely spot on, so I hope you'll forgive me for focusing my initial remarks on just a couple of examples as to how the so-called mass media has been treating Jeremy Corbyn, with stories that, quite frankly, are ranging from the slanderous and the horrible to the ridiculous and absurd. Of course, this week we've had this whole focus on the so-called Virgin Train Gate incident. Now, at the Corbyn rally on Thursday night, people were saying this. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but for me, one of the most absurd elements of this is the fact that those stories have been fed by a number of Blairites, both MPs and former MPs. And I just find it quite astounding that it should come from that source, that there should be accusations from that source about Jeremy Corbyn telling lies. Jeremy Corbyn clearly didn't tell lies, and the Morning Star did a wonderful job in exposing the attack on him, with the pictures of Jeremy passing seats that were clearly marked as being reserved, with interviews of passengers on the train who confirmed Jeremy's side of the story. But it's astounding for me that the Blairites are accusing Jeremy Corbyn of telling a lie, because the consequences of sitting on the floor of a train, drinking a cup of coffee, and a million miles removed to the consequences of telling a lie about the existence of weapons of mass destruction as a prerequisite and an attempt to justify the horror and sorrow that was created in Iraq. But there are another couple of examples which for me are really, really absurd. There was one of a Labour MP who claimed that Jeremy Corbyn was intimidating him because he had been told by someone that Jeremy Corbyn had thought about phoning the MP's father to ask the MP's father to ask the MP to support Jeremy Corbyn. So he was intimidated by a thought in someone's head which never came to fruition. Now, I have to say, as somebody who takes a zero tolerance attitude to bullying and harassment, and who has represented countless numbers of people, unfortunately, in bullying harassment cases, that I wouldn't win such a case in a million years. And in fact, I would be doing the member a disservice if I didn't warn the member that to persist in that line was actually, leaving them open to accusations by raising malicious complaints, and therefore that they in fact were the person who was carrying out the bullying and the harassment. And I think that's exactly what has taken place in that case. The other story that I found absurd, and maybe it's because of the Assistant Secretary of the Clare Hardy Society, was this sort of 3-week serial that the Sunday Mail ran, which was attempting to suggest that Owen Smith had somehow, was a personification of the legacy of Clare Hardy. The most absurd thing, of course, was the first week of that, when it read the front page of the Sunday Mail headline was, that Clare Hardy would be bubbling in his grave at the thought of Jeremy Corbyn being elected. Well, actually, Clare Hardy was cremated, so he wouldn't have been on anywhere, and that's the first absurd thing. And then when you actually read the article, it suggested that Clare Hardy was a unifying figure who was beloved by everyone in the Labour Party, and who never said anything that would have, upset any of his colleagues. Well, the reality, of course, of James Clare Hardy is that he was an extremely principled person. He was vilified for his dress sense. He was vilified for his support of the suffragettes, and indeed his opposition to the First World War and the face of support for that war among his Labour colleagues arguably drove Clare Hardy into an early grave. So Clare Hardy does have things in common with one of the candidates in this election, but it's not Owen Smith. Now, there are a number of reasons for this, and I think we need to think about why are the mass media attacking Jeremy Corbyn in this way. In terms of the Sunday Mail, it might be as simple as that they have a good relationship with a leading Scottish politician who is supporting the other candidate. But in terms of the others, it is because Jeremy Corbyn frightens the establishment in this country, and with the exception of the Morning Star, the rest of the media are part of or supportive of that establishment. In terms of mass media ownership, we have, of course, Rupert Murdoch. And we know about the titles, the Sun and the Times, etc., that he owns. But he also owns 40% of satellite TV, and wouldn't have owned over 60% of it if it hadn't been for the nervousness of politicians awarding him contracts after the phone hacking scandals. We have the Daily Mail, founded by Lord Rothmere, supporter of the fascists, the brown shirts, and Oswald Mosley, who dedicate its pages to continually attacking anybody on the left. We have the Express and the other Star, the Daily Star, owned by Richard Desmond, a billionaire, someone who used to own Channel 5 TV, sold it for £450 million in order that he could concentrate on his ownership of soft porn channels on satellite TV. And we even have the so-called Liberal Guardian, accused of using a corporation in the Cayman Islands in order to ensure that it doesn't pay its fair share of tax. So these organisations have a vested interest in attacking the left and in attacking Jeremy Corbyn. The Morning Star, of course, is different. The Morning Star supports Jeremy Corbyn, exposes and undermines some of the false attacks on him, but it's also different in terms of its ownership. And that is a quite important difference. The Morning Star is a cooperative. It practices indeed what it preaches in work. It is owned by its readers, and it is a collective, and it allows those readers in that collective to make suggestions as to how the paper should operate. It does, of course, in terms of its day-to-day coverage, stand very much on the side of the trade union movement. It has pro-trade union coverage in industrial disputes, and it is now really unique in terms of the British media in its reportage of trade union conferences. I say now because I'm old enough to remember when you actually used to see in the TV coverage of the Scottish Labour Party conference or the National Labour Party conference or the STUC conference. But the Morning Star covers virtually every trade union conference. And that's an important role that it plays, not just in the sense of telling its readers what the trade union movement is debating and discussing, but also in terms of building confidence within that trade union movement. One of the things that has been done in recent years, in which our union encourages, is that our delegates at conference all receive every day free a copy of the Morning Star, paid for by the union. Now that's not just to introduce them to the Morning Star and to promote the newspaper and to tell them that such a journal exists. It's also in the recognition that the Morning Star will report the following day from day one what has been debated the previous day. And it's a real source of encouragement to me as a long-standing supporter of the Star to see, delegates, particularly first-time delegates, who are really nervous about going up to the rostrum and making a speech, then searching the next day to see if their comments have been reported in the Morning Star, and their face beams and lights up. It gives them that confidence. It builds on the experience which they've had. And that's an important thing for the movement. I think it was Tony Benn who once said that confidence is a class issue, because the ruling class attempts to tell the working class that they're really not fit, to be doing certain things and to be challenging the current order and to be looking for alternatives. So anything which gives people confidence is a plus in terms of our overall objective. What of course then happens is that delegates who have taken a copy of that paper, whether they have spoken or not, often use the Morning Star's summary as a means of reporting back to their branch meetings. That then gives you another kick at having a debate and discussion, not just about the issues, but about the role, an important role of the Morning Star. So that particular role is absolutely crucial. Also, of course, in terms of the Star, covers stories that other papers would not touch, particularly in terms of the international sphere, covering stories from areas of the world, particularly in Africa and in Eastern Europe and in the Middle East, which the mainstream, the so-called mainstream press and media just completely steer away from. And then, of course, to the general public who hardly had the opportunity of reading the Morning Star, when conflict breaks out in these places in the TV screens, they wonder why it all came about, and those who control the media then manipulate the story in the full knowledge that there are not enough people out there understand the background and the events which led to these things taking place. So it plays an invaluable role in education and an invaluable role in the creation of peace, because you can't get peace unless you understand what are the causes of war and the causes of conflict. Of course, also opens its pages to features, and in opening its pages to features, it plays that educational role, and it does so in a way that is not dogmatic, because it allows features from people across a wide spectrum of politics, and that is also featured in its letter page, where readers can send in letters, many of which conflicts on occasions with what the editorial line of the Star has been, or indeed what the features have been. So, unlike the vast majority of the rest of the media, the Morning Star is a vibrant, discussing, prompting organ. It's not one that is just there where the reader is told what someone else thinks and expected to slavishly follow it. It is absolutely designed to get people to think and to consider the arguments that have been presented in the paper. So, not just in terms of ownership, but in terms of its audience, the Morning Star is our paper. It's the Labour and Trade Union movement's paper. And it's absolutely crucial, therefore, that we build its readership, that we support it, that we buy shares in it, we encourage individuals, that we encourage trade union branches to purchase shares in it, and that we encourage people to participate in the many Morning Star readers and supporters groups which have sprung up around the country. Within my own union, some of the more innovative things that we've been doing recently is that we are trying to build in, and have built in actually, sessions on the Morning Star into our mainstream trade union education courses. The size of our union is such that every day of the week there are loads of trade union activists who are engaged in trade union education up and down the country. And in Scotland, one of the sort of group sessions which we're now delivering is we give them 3 versions. And by God, the treatment of Jeremy Corbyn has given us plenty of material here. We give them 3 versions of, a news story. We tell them what newspaper printed that news story, and they then have to look at that news story, and one of the questions is, what newspaper do you think, reported those events? And by that process, we can contrast, because the Morning Stars are always one of the 3, and we can contrast how that story has been reported in the Morning Star and emphasise to those who are participating by that demonstration of how the Morning Star is different and how it is a paper for the Labour movement. So that's just one of the ideas that we put into practice. But I hope today, because as you say yourself, Chair, I hope this is an organising conference and people come up with ideas. And I hope today we can come up with other ideas for people as to how we can build and promote the Morning Star, because it is an absolutely crucial weapon in the overall campaign for socialism. Thanks.
Thanks, Jackson, for that excellent contribution and importance there. The Morning Star has to our trade union movement.